everyone, and welcome to Ladies Table Talk podcast. I'm your host, Jess.
And I'm Marcia, the co-host.
So today we are joined by another special guest who's going to be talking to us about her journey through domestic abuse, how she's overcome that, and where she is now in her life. So yes, over to you, Juanita. Welcome and thank you for joining us on Ladies Table Talk.
Yeah, welcome.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story?
Okay, ladies, to be here with you. I know you both, and it's an honor to be here. I'm very excited about what it's doing. Okay, so I am Juanita Sinclair, and I'm an astrologer, I'm a psychologist, and a spiritualist. And I've been working in the community for decades now. I'm currently based in London, but I wasn't always in London. I was a Brummie girl.
Yeah, my bestie
You
from
are
school,
a Brummie
I have to say.
Still a Brummie girl.
From London, that's never good. But before I moved to London, I was married and in a relationship for about 17 years.
Okay.
Wow.
And I experienced severe domestic violence there. And my actual journey to London was prompted from this separation.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good 9 years. Wow, 9 years ago.
Wow.
How fast time has gone.
Yes.
Years ago, I was in a very, 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 very violent relationship, which ended with me having a broken and a fractured cheek.
Wow.
That was when I finally left, and I left literally to make sure that I was going to survive.
To stay alive.
Yeah.
Stay alive. I was out of the house, and I left that house barefoot with one jacket, and I ended up moving to my aunt's in Gloucester, and I had to rebuild my life from my sofa to where I am now. So the time it takes to heal is a continual thing. I still find even now moments where I'm from there. So
Yeah.
biggest thing that I want to share today is that healing isn't linear. It unravels over time.
Mm-hmm.
But the relationship started off very, very well. We ran a business together. We were together 10 years before we got married, and we were married for... Interestingly...
And what age were you when you got together?
I was 19.
Okay.
And I can interject here because I was around in those early stages.
Okay.
And he just seemed like the softest guy that wouldn't even hurt a fly. And he just seemed like at the time that he adored you, you know. So it's you know, I'm not shocked because it's stories that I hear every day, and it's something that I personally kind of been through as well, where you think this guy is just, you know, he wouldn't hurt you, he wouldn't harm you, he wouldn't put you through any form of trauma, you know. So I was there in those early stages, and it's just crazy how somebody can change from this to that. And it's probably not even change. He probably
it's not
was always
changing,
like
it's
that.
just revealing.
It's just revealing
true
who
self.
they really are. Yeah, their true self.
Yeah.
You know.
So Juanita, you were 19.
19 years old.
How did it begin? How did you meet?
Well, we met through the church. This is the thing. Right.
Church.
His grandparents and my grandparents knew each other. They were both well-known families in community in Handsworth in Birmingham, familiar to all of us. And I, at the time when I was 19, when I met him, I already had 3 children under 5.
Okay.
So I was,
wow.
Yeah. So I was vulnerable. At the time, when you're in these positions, you don't actually recognize your vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go back, and now I'm like, whoa, that was a very vulnerable time. So this guy,
Extremely.
I was a single mom of 3 kids, and this guy, like a knight in shining armor.
Yeah.
Lots of positive things happened at the beginning of our relationship. We ran a business, we ran a CIC for a long time, a lot of community work, had a lot of impact. actually grew as a couple, bought our first house and everything else. It was later into the relationship I'd realized I was being controlled.
Okay.
Because at first he was a savior, and he seemed one that had come, given my children father figure, given me stability in the home, allowed me to grow and find different things about myself. And I think that was the hard part of that relationship ending. Because although he had destroyed me in many ways, he also made me up to be who I was when I was.
Yeah. And did you at that time feel, I don't know, like grateful, or like you said, it was he was your savior?
Yeah, absolutely. He was the savior. He was the one that wanted me when no one else did. And made me a wife and all these.
You know what I mean? All the things that any woman would want to aspire to.
And I suppose that made it hard to leave as well.
Absolutely,
because that's all you knew, and there was so much positives alongside the negatives. And I suppose you were hoping for, can he please get back to that man that he used to be?
So how did the abuse begin?
So the abuse began when I found out he had cheated.
Okay.
And I'd also begun to go on a big self-development journey. So as I said, I was in this relationship, and from the outside looking in, we were role models.
Perfect.
But behind closed doors, it was something else.
We were like you, we were counselling other couples, but in the church. Pastors. So we had some standing in the community. People were looking up to us. People were looking up to the relationship. You know, you put this together, you've got children, blah, 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 blah. It was a very, very good time. I decided to start going down the development journey. Spiritual one, because I was seeing them. But I started to go down a very deep self-development, personal journey. Began speaking, as you guys know, different shows. And I think I started to realize my own power. I started to, I was contributing to the relationship, that he wasn't this savior. Actually, I was doing a lot of the legwork. I was making these things happen. Ask for recognition with those things that started.
Did you find that the church helped you at all? Because I know that when I was going through my domestic abuse, going to church for a certain time period helped me, even though I've got a very close relationship with God, and it's, you know, it's a part of my daily life, and it's how I was brought up, and something that I still practice today, of praying and kind of getting that strength. But with you and your ex-husband being in the church, did you find that a strength or a help for you?
Well, in terms of relationship with God, always, it got me through it. Being a youth pastor, being someone that other people are looking up to, there was a of I can't get involved.
Share it.
You know, it's
I hear that. I mean, I married my second husband. I married a man in church that I met in church. And I was in that position where I felt that because actually the love of my life, he was not available. He was struggling with his mental health. He was on drugs, but he was the love of my life. And so I was in a position where I had 3 children, 2 by my husband and 1 from another relationship. And my children were kind of getting involved in life on the road. And I also felt that, what kind of man would want me with all this bagger that's in my life? And even though I was making great strides with my career, I've had a fantastic career. Then I left my job and I was doing lots of, speaking and lots of self-development as well. Well, actually, my real self-development journey started after I came out of that marriage. But I was with this man in church, but when I went to church to say he's abusing me, and everyone could see that I changed, my hair fell out, I put on loads of weight, my skin, I developed eczema. I just wasn't the woman that originally, you know, I wasn't Marcia at all.
Yeah.
And but I went to the church and they were just like, be grateful. You have a husband.
Yeah.
Know what you
So
want.
they expect you to put up. He's the head of the house, so he can do what he wants, basically.
And
you
then
just be
because
that
my
quiet
role,
boy.
I was a manager as well.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being a manager at home. Stop
Mm-hmm.
trying to manage your husband. So they put it all on me to say,
Mm-hmm.
you must submit.
Mm-hmm.
But it, and in the end, I got out. I mean, we were together, and he was very, the abuse that I suffered there was financial, spiritual, Christian man, you know, spiritual, sexual.
Yes.
I just didn't get, we hadn't got to the stage for the actual physical violence. But I know that it would have got there.
It's horrible to say, but sometimes church and that whole religious thing can actually contribute to abuse.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what, you know, form of, you know, it comes from, you know, whether
because
it's
with
church,
Juanita,
Muslim,
she couldn't say.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's the thing as well, because church see as well as the men being the head of the household. Religion as a whole see the men as the head of the household. Sometimes that can be taken too far. So it just means that as women, we need to kind of be beneath our men and just put up with whatever they want to, you know, dish out to us. And
but further studies that I did was that, you know, a man's role is to love his wife as Christ loves the church. So Christ laid down everything for the church. That's how so first and foremost, before the woman submits, she's got to be so loved up and loved. And that's what's misinterpreted.
Yes, exactly. Because when a woman's loved, right, you know, then
I don't mind submitting to a man who's taking care of me, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to force her, control her, treat her wrong, make her feel horrible about herself, you know, it's abuse.
So Juanita, you're experiencing abuse, you're in a marriage, you're active in the community, active in church. So then how did it continue? Because did you have children together?
So we did. We had children together. As I said, look picture perfect. And for me and the background I was coming from, especially the experience with my previous baby fathers, who weren't violent, they were emotional and mental. So when you get someone that's saying, look, I'm gonna, at that time, someone saying to me, I'm gonna marry you, we're gonna start a business, we're gonna, you know, you don't have to be like this anymore. You know, we could do something and make a change. And big changes did happen. What I got to realize as I began to develop is he saw the potential in me and used it to his advantage.
I hear that.
What I ever do is let me know that it was me.
Right.
So it was always about, I'm the one that helped you get here. I'm the one that.
That's what he would say.
Yeah.
So he made you feel as if you owed him something.
And to be fair, I felt like I did. That point, I felt like I did. Oh my God, I'm running a business. Oh my God, I've got all these connections. Oh my God, I've realized all these things about myself.
My husband has done these great things for me.
Yeah. He's done these things. So it did appear that he was loving.
As if it was him. Yeah. But it was actually you.
Why wouldn't I? So when I started to challenge things and realize this man hasn't worked from the day I met him.
Right.
As I would be working on the business, working a day job, come home and kids, and this man would be okay. Remember, I'm starting to I'm the only started to get bad when I started to challenge that.
And that's what happens a lot.
Yeah. Who are you? Who do you think you are? You're nothing. Wasn't for me. You're not nothing without me. Blah 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 blah. So I suffered inside for a good 5 years.
Wow.
Because the first part of our relationship was very good. Children, we had family, we had a business, but when we want to take up space in the relationship as a woman growing, early 20s now, it was, how do I make her small? So the financial, mental abuse, it was like, I made all the money, but he would get all the money.
Okay.
Right. So what was the last straw that made you leave?
The last straw that made me leave was, to be fair and honest, I was holding on as much as I could because I had 2 children.
Yeah.
2 children with him, and, you know, we were a family. But the day my daughter saw him throw me down the stairs,
wow,
that was it. After that night, he spat in my face and he threw me down the stairs. And the reason I wouldn't leave is because I was thinking about, where would me and the children go? Because where you become dependent on someone. Sometimes, why don't women leave? Why do you take your things and blah, blah, blah. But by this time, I was already isolated family. Half the family, why not good at him, trust, don't bother me again. The other half, I didn't feel like I could reach out to because I felt like I was being judged. And they themselves backed up that narrative of,
oh, that it was you, and
you're lucky somebody wanted to marry you.
Oh, right.
You should be grateful.
Yeah, you should be grateful.
He took you up with your 3 picnic.
All those things, so all those cultural norms, youth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
oppressive norms
that we, as Black women, these narratives we can, well, at least someone chose. You're lucky to have a man around, blah, 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 blah. You know, so when I was sliding at the bottom of those stairs and he's, you know, his saliva's dripping in my face after spitting on me, I was like, I have to leave here because first it's a punch in the ribs or a nod or a choke. But then it started to get worse. Because when he began to see that I wasn't exposing his abuse,
he thought he could do it more.
Yeah.
And it was very, me, this is my children's father.
I
knowing he's got these issues.
Okay.
Blah, 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 blah. So when he began to see that I would protect him, even though he's abusing me, he started to get worse. Abuse, the mental abuse, the financial abuse.
A similar thing happened with me. He started to abuse me in front of his friends. My perpetrator even thought he could try and hit me in my own mum's house in front of my brother, and my mum was upstairs. That's how like bright then I used to be that he got. You know, it wasn't something hidden anymore. You know, he thought he
what he does.
In my mum's house,
It's just what I do.
It's what and
so,
you know,
I'm just going to do
chased in town. He tries to abuse me in the streets, you know, and that's the thing. When you don't speak up about the abuse, when you don't shout and scream about it, you know, they think that, you know, the violation just gets worse and worse and worse.
It really, when I was at the bottom of the stairs, I was like, and I had to, it was one of the hardest things. I had to leave my 2 children in the house with him because I had to out the house because I said, here with this man. If I stay here with this man, he is going to kill me. I've
been in those situations where
no doubt. You had no doubt.
I had no doubt, and it was a case of, but wait, what am I going to do? And for me, it was like, well, if I leave the children here and I get myself together, I can come back for my children, which was another battle. And ended up coming to me 5 years later.
Okay, brilliant.
To get my children, and by then there was a lot of damage done because they narrative, mum's just mum doesn't blah blah blah, and I think the time I took to leave that marriage and after I left that marriage, I spent a good 2 years healing.
And the healing continues.
Juanita, so you had to get out. You had to get out because that was fighting for your life. and you had to leave your children there.
It's
So in that period, so are you saying it was 5 years before your children came back to you?
Yeah, my daughter came back to me after the police attended the address, after he hit her in the face.
Oh, no. Okay. So could you tell us about that experience of having to move so far, because you're from Birmingham?
Yeah.
So all your children were in Birmingham. Is it 5 children in total, or?
Children in total.
Total. So were they all in Birmingham?
They're all in Birmingham. 3 of them were with my mom at this point.
Okay.
Because that happened over the course of the relationship.
Yes.
Out the children.
Okay.
So
okay.
They all ended up going to my mother's house.
Yeah.
And me and him and his 2 children in the house.
In the house.
Right.
So you had to escape.
Yes.
And you went to Gloucester, and then you made the bold move. You moved to London.
Yeah.
Far away, because you need to heal, get yourself together. But
and find you.
Time, what was the experience, the separation from your children?
Absolute hell, and something that me and my children are still working through as and child to the you know, because what I realized with this is those years that I spent away from my children, the guilt, the shame, the not being able to see them,
because you weren't allowed to see them at some points.
Yeah, he wouldn't let me. And I wasn't in a position to go to family court or get
So that was his tactic and his control over you. So how did all this affect the kids, if you don't mind me asking? How did they?
I'm sure they wouldn't mind talking about it either, because I think it affected them terribly.
Yeah.
Son, who is 16, he is away from me. Again, the same violence he sees his father do. It happened, and we're currently in family. We are still working through this, and I think people, when you leave, that's the end of the story.
No, it isn't.
Still continue even away from the relationship.
Yes.
My ex-husband, my children, as a weapon, and they have suffered for it. They've suffered terribly. We got through it. I mean, I'm a therapist myself. I'm a healer. I knew how to pray. Just around me, and we're working it through. We're working through it, but and even her coming to me in the condition she came to me, because remember, she came because he'd already kicked her in the face. He'd gone through the years of abuse when he was hitting his child and abusing his child. So physically, I should say. I don't want to say
physically,
but mental and abuse was happening. I had a very, very fragile, hurt 14-year-old and 7-year-old at the time.
So you had to pick up those pieces.
And we had to pick up those pieces. Children while I'm healing myself. Children for years, and even sometimes in arguments now, in all left us, do this and that. Still it comes up and we work through it and we deal with it. It does come up, and it's a very natural part of their healing journey.
And to be honest, I'm going to be very honest, because there have been times in my life when I'm going through some trauma or that I have felt like I need to get away from my children, even when they've been adults. So because there's a time as women, especially if we have, look, you had your children so young, so going into your adulthood, you've always been a mother. You haven't been a person, a woman who's just the woman. And I get it that we need, because I know when I was younger, I mean, I had my first child at 19, but I always used to introduce myself as a mother first, you know, and I got to a realization at one point, and I'm like, hold on, there's much more to life than being a
mother,
you know. And I was doing lots of other things, and I was working and studying, but I was always like, you know, because obviously I love my children, I'm proud of my children, but there was a realization, there's more to life than this. And it's like, you can come to a point where you actually need time and space for yourself, for your healing. And I get it, because many a time I've wanted to run away and leave them in. I mean, this is when they were older, but even at the point, when my children, I'll tell you this, when I broke up with my husband, my first husband with the mental health issues, I just went on a mad one. So I left my children with my mom. And I met a man quite quickly. And I spent all my time with him. We literally lived together, because part of it was my escapism, because of going through what we went through in, you know, with the mental health. It was just crazy, a crazy life. And I was 27 at the time, but I relate because, I just needed to be away from my whole reality, you know. So yeah, I get it. And I was away for ages. And sometimes I do feel, you know, because I remember my daughter saying, oh, we're at grandma's all the time then, you know, but it was just part of my journey. And it's something that I needed to do, that I couldn't actually, I don't think I would.
Do you feel like it helped you, Marcia? When you had that, do you feel like it helped you?
I think it's, what did it do? I just needed to, my mind was going, because of the madness that I'd lived in. And the thing is, there wasn't proper room for me at my mum's either. So I set the children up. My children at the time, my first two, they were like, I think they were like 6 and 8, something like that. And so we set up the spare room with bunk beds. They had bunk beds, and they were there. My sister still lived at home. So I could stay there, but I'd probably end up on the settee or whatever. So I just ended up, I'd met this guy, and there was space for me. So I used to be driving backwards. I'd still take them to school and things. But I'd be going out. I started going out. But it was just something I needed.
Just your, at
that time. And then, and that lasted for about, I mean, it wasn't years. It was about 9 months of that. Because we didn't have anywhere to live, because we'd lost our home. I didn't have anywhere to live. So it was like that. And then I got a house. And so that's when I was like, okay, I've got to get back to being mother. But
mother. But I think at that time you just needed that escape. You needed that space.
I clearly did, you know. And then it's not to say that guy was the best person I could have been with at the time. But at the time, he was just like a rescuer, because he was just looking after me, you know. And we need that at times. And as I say, as I've gotten older with my children as adults, I mean, my children are adults, you know, they're like 35, 32, you know. And there's been times when they've been going through their stuff in the relationships, and the baby, father and mother, and this, and it's all coming on me as a single mom. And I've just felt like,
So have you kind of sat down with your children to explain why you needed to do that at that time?
Yes, we've had those. I mean, I didn't go, but I wanted to. That was the thing. It was where I was in a position where I was fighting against my life. I think I had to reach a place of acceptance of it. Because I wasn't in abuse then. I was a single woman. But I was craving my very first relationship, and I was still grieving the fact that he felt ill with his mental health and stuff, and went on drugs. So I was forever grieving. So it's like the position I was in, I kept fighting against it, because I hated it. So much. And then I just realized that I needed to get to a place of acceptance. What it is. I didn't feel so much that urgency to physically get away. More about what was happening in my mind.
Inside, yeah.
I could
Inside
settle
your
down.
mind.
Yeah, I was so I'm just saying, I just said all of that just to say that I understand, and also to listeners, because I know of, you know, many women who have had to have these separations from their children, and it is really difficult. And even though mine was like 9 months, my daughter brings it up now. You know,
and that's why I asked that question, if you've had that, you know, that talk with her, so she knows that you love her. And I'm sure, Juanita, have you had that talk with your kids?
All the time, on and off.
As I said, it's a healing journey, and it only, maybe if they're hurt or if I was like, don't do that, well, you can't tell me you haven't been there. And in a teenager and the healing, but if I didn't have that time,
wouldn't be able to.
I wouldn't be able to space for them.
That's right. That's right.
And I think with a lot of the women I've worked with that come from things or therapy who have experienced a lot of it is, I don't have space for my children, because they've gone through the violence with you, they've gone with you. It's very often they've witnessed it, if they haven't heard it. And
that's true.
Leave, and you don't have that space for children, or you don't have support where you have to heal alone. It's very you can lose that with your children, because but you need you. And I think I'm away, but I was judged so heavily for
I was just about to ask you that about judgment.
What happened naturally, because I was the blooming flower in that relationship, even though when I had low self. Once I began to go on a journey, I started to succeed again. I started again. I went to travel. I started to work for Google.
Yes, I remember that.
I was speaking at Google events. I was working for Google. I went to work in Javier, Spain. So
that's amazing.
So people who
absolutely,
it just, I just get up, I leave, I pick them and go for travel around the world, and that was something I had to deal with. People, but I had to be at peace, be misunderstood.
And I've gone through that.
Back to acceptance, isn't it? Just accepting that that's just what it is.
You know, misunderstanding, not
always going to happen.
Story. You know, and they're just coming up with their own versions of what's happening in my life. But you don't know what's happened in my life. You don't know how it's affected me, how it's made me feel, what I need to do. So I totally relate to that part
absolutely,
of it.
Absolutely.
So when you moved to London, was that the start of your healing journey then?
When I moved to London, I began to train as a therapist and a coach, and to discover myself again. And you know, I discovered the tarot, duality, and began to understand on a more spiritual level how to heal those layers of my heart. And when I'm in London, that's what happened, and I started to blossom. Right, not to say that I didn't have challenges. It gave me that space, and as I said, I was having children from 15 years old.
Yes.
That space, I mean, how old was I? 33.
Okay.
33 was actually the first time I've ever been on my own. And ever
lived on your own.
I was in my own apartment. And for me, because even moving to London, the story of London, I was severely depressed at my aunt's house. My aunt didn't have space, but God bless her, she welcomed what happened. And I was on my aunt's couch. I said, you know what, one business, you can start another one. And experiencing marketing and business consultation, because for the CIC, when me and my ex. I remember saying, you know what, Juanita, I put out on Facebook, I said, I'm looking for 7 businesses to work with to help them get back then. It was online this was a new thing.
Yeah.
It was.
And I remember putting out, going, I'll work with each person £750 each. And I was because I was doing therapy and the coaching, I began around the actual audience that would buy that.
Right.
So they all paid their $750. I woke up, I went to bed in fact on my Facebook status and said, you know what, God, if I'm meant to go to London,
okay,
yeah, told me to do that. I woke up, I had like 25 people asking for the thing.
Wow, fantastic,
okay, amazing,
miracle. So I did every client.
I think I remember seeing that post. You know, I remember, but I didn't have the 750. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So
God said, you know, you put that out there. They say that as well. You kind of put it out, and and then if you to make that decision to go, you know, it happened, and you got that money coming in that you could make the move. Brilliant.
About just over £9,000.
Oh
wow, that's amazing.
And Juanita, I'm just gonna ask you a question. It's just my curiosity, because I don't know anything about tarot.
Yeah,
and it's something that I'm kind of hesitant about because of my Christian faith. So just tell me how that kind of works, because we're frightened of it. I'm curious, but we're frightened.
For me, I originally got into tarot because a friend of mine, a colleague I was working with, me and her were training as a coach together. Always had her cards in her back. Now remember, I was an evangelist, youth pastor. When we see them now, Lord Jesus.
That's what I would do.
She said to me, you know what, Juanita, what do you know about the tarot? And I was like, it's the devil. And she was like, what? She didn't challenge my beliefs, but one of the times I used to always watch her doing the cards. Always. And then one day she said, would you like a reading? And I was like, no, sir. And then it's almost like my heart opened because I was going on a journey, and I'd see my friend, a friend of mine, really healing herself. She was things about herself. She was on the same journey. She had a very similar story to me, but she the children. She was really, because you know what, Juanita, I'll give you one reading, and with my olive oil and my this and my that. Just practicing, but anyway, and she gave me a reading, and it opened me up. Opened me, allowed me to see my heart and myself in a way that I'd never been able to see myself before. What? A couple of weeks, first tarot deck. Now I didn't know anything about tarot. I didn't know about spirituality as apart from my Christian background. That feeling of God in me. And when I heard that voice say to me, go and pick up a tarot deck, it's going to help you. It was so I said, you know what? Aside from Christianity and spiritual, blah, 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 this is the same feeling I used to get that as guided.
The Holy Spirit.
Same space. And, you know, say that and just
interesting.
So is it fair to say, and especially knowing you as well, that tarot, spirituality has been a vital part of your healing journey?
It's been the healing journey. It's allowed me see the capacity of the divinity in a way that I can connect with actual experience. Because spirituality for me, exploration tool, it solve your problem. And I think sometimes people go into spirituality thinking it's going to solve all the hurt and it's going to solve all the pain. What it do is put you out on a blank canvas. When it's for people, the way that's used through me to read, it allows them to see themselves in their wholeness and fullness inspires pain.
Yes.
So Christianity, I judgment of this God, and I broke my marriage down, stay with my husband, and all the things I was being judged for from a Christian.
Yeah.
Spirituality said, well, I know these things have happened, but how do we move forward? How have you expanded because of those experiences?
Yes.
That the spirituality allowed me to take away the shame.
Yes.
Experience, because
which we need to get rid of that. That is so
we need to get rid of that
vital.
shame. Yeah,
because it's not our shame, number one.
Exactly.
But we carry that cloak of shame, don't we?
Yeah. It's a natural reaction. It's a natural feeling to feel embarrassed that, you know, this happened to me. Why me? You know, is it something about me? You know, and we kind of self-doubt ourselves. We kind of have that kind of negative feeling and thoughts about, you know, ourselves. And we need to kind of look at, well, it's the other person. You know what I mean? Because no matter what I did, no matter what I said, I didn't deserve to be treated this way. I didn't deserve to be abused. You know, I have a right to be angry. I have a right to have an opinion. I have a right not to agree with you. That doesn't mean that you have a right to touch me or abuse me or tear me down. You know what I mean? But we still have that shame that it happened to me. It happened to us,
and it's a thing where we have the right to get out and get rid. Because also judgment comes when we do that. Like you were saying, you've mashed up your marriage. You've left your kids, you know, and it's we got to shake. Women need to know, you know, people watching, that it's to find a way to shake off that shame. So what you're saying, Juanita, is that through spirituality rather than religion, that's what's done it for you.
That's what me. I can only say what's worked.
For you.
It was the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment, even of, you know, having to
stand that.
Those things, and leaving my children. That, so you know, the abuse, everything else, but having to leave your children and not being able to see,
huge.
And I
think the thing is okay, go on.
So have you come to terms with the fact of you having to leave your children, how it affected them, how it affected you? Do you feel you've come to terms with, you know, the process that you had to go through?
At 42, I mean, 8-9 years, but then I would say that was within the last 18 months I actually began to come to terms with it, because as me and my children, we are still healing.
So it's still a process.
I think with something like this as well, and the choices that a woman has to make, that she will be judged on, and or even if others aren't, you judge yourself, you question yourself. And I think it's just recognizing that we're human, and we make the best decision we can at that time. Juanita, if you were to live that over again, would you make the same decision to go to London and be separated from your children?
You know what? Yes, I would.
Okay.
Because the other alternative is what I believe. So I think I would reflect back on it. I would still make the same decision. The thing that I probably would have done sooner is leave sooner, because I left because I had to leave. I don't know. People say, "Oh my God, you got thrown down the stairs and rib was broken and everything else," but to me, that was
that was it. Now that was a sign.
That was your
come
rock
on,
bottom.
Girl. Come on, girl. You needed to get out. Come on, get out.
And like I've said before, it's when you reach that rock bottom that you realise I have to go. if I stay, I'm not going to probably live another day, or he's not going to live another day, or something bad is going to happen next. You know, so totally
brilliant
to that.
Wow.
So where are you now in life? Because I know that you're doing very well in tarot. You know, I mean, you talk about this all the time.
Wait a minute though, I need to ask Jess, have you had your cards read by Juanita?
I have. I've had them read a few times.
Okay.
And she's spot on. She's amazing.
Really?
Because
I'm tempted. I'm getting tempted, you know.
I have got a very.
Where's my bishop? Bishop. I'm tempted.
I have got a very close relationship with God. I'm very spiritual.
And me. Yeah.
Again, you know, we was all brought up in church, so that's that's where it first started, in church. But after a while, certain things didn't resonate with me.
In relation to
I
church,
still didn't find what I needed and what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And
it's
I'm not
true,
sure
you know,
how I got into spirituality, but I found myself along that journey. And then me and Juanita reconnected, you know, when she was on that same journey. And you know, I find that I don't know, I think probably all along it wasn't the church itself that helped me. It was that relationship and that bond with God that helped me. That faith, you know, and I think it's something that's continued on, but in a different way, you know. It's not about,
as I'm listening to you and listening to Juanita, I actually also recognize, I'm sitting here, that I went on a journey as well with spirituality. And I mean, like, you know, the 3 principles, Juanita, and my experiences with the 3 Ps. I went to conferences where I felt the true and living God. I felt the Spirit of God. I was in
I went through that
conferences where men, and suddenly as the speaker spoke, men and women around, they were just crying. Felt just like I would have felt the Holy Spirit if I went to church. And I went to the speaker, who then became a mentor for me. And he's from America, and I spoke to him and I said, oh my gosh, I felt, you know, like I'm feeling the Holy Spirit. And he said to me, yes, you touch the essence of the true and living God. So and I have to say, in that journey, I learned so much that enabled me. And it's so similar. It's like about stillness, isn't it? So the Bible says, you know, God's, you know, in Christianity, it's be still. Now, stillness is something I practice all the time. I take my time to make a decision. You know, even my team know that. You know, if there's something to deal with, I just, you know, but I know that through the spiritual aspects, like myself and some of my team, we meditate, you know, and we do morning challenges, we meditate. But I know I have my personal relationship with God. Foundation, and I am a Christian. That's my foundation. But I have my own relationship with God. It's really good conversation, which I'd love to continue, probably not on the show.
Definitely.
It is about, I do believe that it is for anyone who's seeking peace, though.
Definitely.
The peace comes from within, and I do believe it definitely comes from connecting with the divine source. Whether you say God, whatever name, you know. And just like as I was listening to you, Jess, for me in my life, it's only been my trust and faith in God that has brought through everything. It's not been humans, it's not been people.
You know, exactly.
It's just God, because so you know what, I'm absolutely loving this conversation that we're having. It feels amazing. So I feel so connected. And I'm just feeling uplifted. And I'm very interested to talk to you, Juanita, which we will. And yeah, okay, yeah, we will.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, it's really good. And Juanita, have you got a message for women out there who may be in the position you were, and particularly where they're considering leaving, they're thinking, what will I do with my children? What am I going to do? What would you say to a woman who's trapped in domestic abuse and she's thinking, what about the children? I'll stay for the children.
You know what, as you say that to me, it brings me back to how I felt in those moments. The thing that I would say to any woman that is in domestic violence, is thinking about leaving or is scared to leave or staying for your children, what I would say, what I know now that I didn't know then, that the edge of emotion is messy, healing is messy, and sometimes a lot worse before it gets better. And to stay alive, to come away from the abuse is the most powerful thing I ever do. And I think as women, especially Black women, we are penalized heavily anytime we do anything for ourselves, never mind leaving a
so true
relationship. So what I would say is that God loves you as you are, the universe loves you are, and
I love that. Yeah, definitely.
Each step as it comes, and even though it's messy, you may have to leave your children, you know, God willing you don't, because everybody has to, but free yourself and know that God, the universe, source, whatever, that wakes us up every morning, because I know none of us do, we wake up. So for me, whatever wakes up in the morning, the very breath going through all our lungs right now, that energy loves us and loves who we are. And to take the next step, it doesn't have to be a huge step. It might be telling someone, you're at a school and saying, look, I've got to go home in a violent relationship. It might be sneaking out in the middle of the night. It might mean you leave nothing. For me, I left home with my widescreen TV, my thick carpet. I left a thing to get everything.
Yes.
And there's a lot of
wonderful
women,
statement.
and there's a lot of women that do that, you know, they live their whole lifestyle, you know, and leave with nothing, just the clothes on the back, you know, and, you know, you're not judged for it. I mean, there are people out there, let's keep it real, that will watch you, that will talk about you, that will judge.
Who cares?
No, but who cares? Leave them to God. And, you know, the same thing that happens to you know, the same downfall that can happen to one person can happen to another person. You know what I mean? And this is why it's not right to judge other people, laugh after, you know, another person's downfall. You know what I mean? And if that's the way people are, leave them to it. You know, just be thankful and grateful that you're not one of them. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
So
I mean, sorry, Juanita, you were saying?
Oh, just, it might not, even though you don't feel love, love is all there, and love looks safe, secure, and you
so
get that. Don't judge it. Don't judge yourself.
Don't judge yourself
too hard.
Love yourself.
Love yourself.
And you know, one of the interviews we've done before, we were actually trying to impress on the woman that we interviewed that she must look after herself and take care of herself. And so it's interesting, the contrast in this interview, that the emphasis, and I hope that she watches this interview, because the emphasis from this interview is about it. I love it because it's more focused on the woman herself, this interview, rather than a lot of conversation about the perpetrator. And so it's like for women who are in any sort of abuse situation, it's about where you start to find you
exactly,
connect with your soul, connect with your desires, And if you, when you do that, you will and you can get out, because you are meant to be free. And so it will happen however it happens. For Juanita, it happened because of that injury going down the stairs, but that needed to happen. You just say to her, enough. I know I grew up in domestic abuse myself and was a witness of loads, but I remember my mom saying she used to run away loads of times, but the last time she looked at herself in the mirror and she said no. And she said her grandfather's name. She said, you know, my grandfather's Grand Picnic is not staying in this. She deserves more.
Better.
Then, and I'm telling you, she came out of the marriage after 9 years, 4 children. And within 2 years, she met my stepfather, and they've been they've been together for 45 years, and they built a life, and they had so much criticism. They did, because also she married a white man. There was so much criticism, but let me tell you, the example that I see with my mom and my stepfather is just how teamwork works, how marriage should be, because they tried so much till they could, you know, at 53 and 58, I think, they could retire. They've gone to, you know, they're away, they live abroad in Europe, and they've been there 15 years, and her life is good and rich, but my father's life still isn't, you know, and that's a sad thing. So, Jess?
Yeah, so I think what I just want to add before we close is for, you know, the audience to know that there's different forms of healing journeys, you know, and everyone's healing journey is a different journey. You know, it's a different time frame. Some people can heal in weeks, months, sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it's just something that's a daily process. Some people meditate, some people turn to church, spirituality, you know, there's so much different forms of healing, and just find the healing that suits you, find the healing that's right for you, find the healing that's going to get you to the place where you need to be, find the healing that gets you to find you, who you are, that's going to enable you to accept yourself, accept what you've been through, love yourself, you know. So, you know, everyone's journey is different, everyone's healing is different. Don't watch another woman's journey, don't watch another
that
woman's
will work
path.
for you.
Just do you know, but just make sure that you go through that healing, because you know, there's no way that you can experience trauma and not heal. And this is why I will tell every woman that I, you know, speak to, interview on this podcast, to make sure that you heal, make sure that your children are healing, you know. So this has been amazing today,
Juanita. So how do you know, are you healed or are you still on your journey?
You know what, because a client asked me the same question, when am I healed? And to me, new things come up day by day by day, and it's already cool, you know. I'm not broken. I just remember who I am, and I think there are things that you'll ask me about that particular episode in my life. I'm healed from the shame and the guilt and everything else, but I will still have moments of doubt that come from that relationship. So although it isn't as heavy as it was before, it's a daily process, and you know that you're healed, and then
it's a journey, because you get to a certain stage. It's like with anything, with self-love, you know, about say 6 years ago, I was like, I really love myself, I love myself, but I've been 6 years on, and it's like, and I've discovered actually elements where, no, you weren't loving yourself, no, you weren't loving yourself when you did that. So, you know, I'd say it's definitely a continuum. It's just
a continuing, you know, it's a continuing journey.
And the further you get on the journey,
you're
going to be recovered from the things from some of the things from the past.
I just think
enlightened you
get
are,
stronger over time.
More aware as well.
You do.
Yeah, just get stronger.
Yeah.
There's deeper depths and higher heights.
That's it.
Yeah.
You'll heal on one level, but you might love yourself, but you don't have boundaries. So then in boundaries with people, then you've got to go. So I think
for real,
everybody's at a different journey. And I love what Jess said about don't look at another woman's journey. To that, because we're all made of things that made us.
Exactly.
Deeper depths and higher heights. And I think aspects of my journey that keep me humble, that help me remember that gossip and judge another woman because of what they have been through.
Yes, for sure.
A lot of the time are going through things, but because they don't have emotional intelligence and capacity to heal, they go out and talk about people, hate on other people.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And that hurt people and people, and you just got to know which part of the fence.
That's it.
That's
it. But this is why you know, Jess is actually a coach that coaches women who are in domestic abuse and out of domestic abuse. She runs she has a limited company, Living Beyond Surviving consultants, and she runs programs also for women. So Jess is, you know, Jess has an organization that I'd recommend anybody connects with, as well as, you know, if you're in a situation, contact the domestic abuse helpline. The details will be below the interview. In terms of children, there are also some other helplines, the NSPCC, if there are any issues related to children. And so
again as well, with Marcia, if there's anybody as well that's interested in writing a book to talk about their story. Juanita did write a book. We didn't even
I've read it
speak about that. But if anyone's interested, Marcia is a fantastic established author and publisher. Her details again will be at the bottom of the video. So if anybody does want to, so if anybody does want to write a book, you know, speaking about their story or anything else, just get in touch, you know, and you know, as Marcia said, the helpline numbers will be at the bottom of the video.
I'd like to just ask Juanita a question, actually. So, you know, you wrote a book many years ago.
Yes, I did.
Was that a positive or negative experience in putting your story out?
It was very positive. It made me live up I knew I could be. I think the Diva Commandments. It's funny enough, I found that book the other day because
I've got the book.
I mean, that book launched my career. To be fair, as a speaker,
it does. This is what I'm saying to Jess.
I know I'm going to get on it. I'm definitely going to get on it soon. I will be writing.
To actually put that phase, that part of my journey up. Was a big part of my healing. It's quite healing and therapeutic.
It is therapeutic. People say it's cathartic because you just give you a chance to get it out and get that healing. So Juanita, it's been wonderful speaking.
Thank you for being on.
It's been about many years since I've spoken to you, and it's been wonderful.
Amazing.
Thanks again.
So thank you everybody for joining today for Ladies Table Talk podcast and listening to Juanita's story of her journey of you know, going through domestic abuse, how she got into tarot, how it's healed her, and thank you for joining us. Please share, like and follow
and subscribe.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, everyone.
Wonderful.
And we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.